The sixth edition on New Central Television, coming to you live from our Abuja studios. I'm Neo Taigbe. Our top stories at this hour. President Donald Trump addresses global leaders in Davos, calls for immediate negotiations to acquire Greenland. Police confirm mass abduction of over 100 worshippers in Kaduna State, reverse earlier denial. Federal High Court recognizes Nnamdi Usman as Labour Party leader, removes Julius Abure as national chairman. Trump addressed the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, positioning the United States as the economic engine of the planet. During his speech, he asserted that American dominance and criticized the current trajectory of European nations. President Trump demanded immediate negotiations to acquire Greenland, insisted that no other nation is in a position to secure or develop the massive land mass except for the United States. He claims the acquisition is a strategic necessity that only the U.S. can effectively manage and improve. President Trump further criticized regional leadership, describing it as not heading in the right direction. His remarks highlighted deepening tensions between the United States and its traditional allies.
Economic engine on the planet. And when America booms, the entire world booms. It's been the history. When it goes bad, it goes bad. You all follow us down and you follow us up. And we're at a point that I don't believe we've ever been. I never thought we could do it this quickly. I have tremendous respect for both the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark. Tremendous respect. But every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is, no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States. We're a great power, much greater than people even understand. It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it and make it so that it's good for Europe and safe for Europe and good for us. And that's the reason I'm seeking immediate negotiations to once again discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States, just as we have acquired many other territories throughout our history, as many of the European nations have. They've acquired. There's nothing wrong with it. This afternoon, I want to discuss how we have achieved this economic miracle, how we intend to raise living standards for our citizens to levels never seen before, and perhaps how you too and the places where you come from can do much better by following what we're doing, because certain places in Europe are not even recognizable, frankly, anymore. They're not recognizable. And we can argue about it, but there's no argument. Friends come back from different places. I don't want to insult anybody and say I don't recognize it. And that's not in a positive.
President of the United States, President Donald Trump. But just before we dig into that speech by President Trump, let's go back to Davos, where Nigeria's Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, is currently addressing the House. Welcome back. Now, we've heard the President of the United States addressing the House in Davos, and we've also had to delve in to see what they were discussing on food security for just a bit. But we're back here now to look at that conversation or that speech by the U.S. President Donald Trump. And I'm being joined by global policy analyst Alexander Van Bruggen, who joins us from Canada. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Also joining us virtually, Ambassador Joe Keshi, former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So let me just start off with you, Alexander. That statement by President Trump, some will say is a very strong statement, and some will look at it from another way, exaggerated, opinionated, but still very strong. What's your take?
Well, Trump always comes out with a little bit of a schlock statement to get everybody's attention, and that becomes the starting point of a negotiation. The purpose of this trip to Davos was pure negotiation. It's what's not being said that we have to pay attention to. He's brought an unprecedented a group of 300 people with him. That's never happened before. He's addressed and somewhat attacked the world order in Davos, that things aren't working and America's changing them. And if they want to be part of that success, join America. And of course, he was pitching the annexation of Greenland. He's toned that down a little bit from using force to not using force. But he's made some comments that if Europe says no or NATO says no, America will remember it. He's impassioned in reminding Europe that his roots are also Scottish and German. So kind of politically giving an alliance to Europe. He's recounting history on America's assistance to Europe during the Second World War, and that they wouldn't be a free entity if it weren't for America. He's pitching the security need of Greenland for America, although he hasn't increased military power there, which he has the ability to do. They have a base there now. If it were an immediate concern, I'm sure U.S. troops would already be in Greenland. There's a few of them right now, but it's a small contingent of in between 200 and 400. He's trying to impress, although he didn't quote the Monroe Doctrine. Basically, he's enacting the Monroe Doctrine that there's the old world, which is Europe. There's the new world, which is the Western Hemisphere. And America wants to control both Americas. And Greenland has to be part of it because it's part of North America. That's his pitch. Now, he's got 300 people with him. I'm sure other deals are going to be made, and the Europeans have a tough decision. Do they want to initialize a trade bazooka because of the pending tariff threats of 10% if they don't agree to annexation of Greenland, and then an increase of another 25% if it doesn't happen by June 1st? These are typical Trump negotiation posturing, and I think Europe has to weigh out: is the juice worth the squeeze? Is giving up Greenland worth what it will cost, or will the cost be much higher not doing it? I think that's what has to be deliberated on. His method, his bedside manner, approaching the world leaders.
Yeah. Okay.
Is unorthodox, and it gives a knee-jerk reaction of resistance because no one wants to be bullied.
Okay, let's bring in Ambassador Keshi. Ambassador Keshi, yes, President Trump has made his statements boldly. America is the savior of the world. I mean, if I could say that in summary, America is the go-to nation, and anybody that's not aligning with America doesn't need to be in this room, so to speak. But what does that say of all the other people who were sitting down, the other countries who were listening? And some will say, at the end, stood up to give a standing ovation for the speech by President Trump?
If you are referring to the ovation, you have to understand that you're dealing with the international community that has its protocol and behavior. It's a question of respect. Look, no matter what the president said or did not say, the people in that hall would have gotten out would have stood up to clap for him simply out of respect. But you remember, I like to draw your attention to. I like to draw your attention to. Sorry, I'm trying to. I like to draw your attention to that famous record, I think by Favor, of the arrival of the Lion, the Conqueror, and the rest of it. That's exactly what you saw. It was the arrival of the Lion. It was the speech of the Lion, and it was typical Trump speech. to start with. The only headline that one can take away from the speech itself, because every other thing he said was more or less domestic issues, and apart from taking on his enemies, which he identified, the only thing that he said was about Greenland, that he was not going to attack it or take it over by force. And I don't know if you watched the speech, you could see that immediately the market started reacting, because the market reacted negatively before he left the United States when he first talked of the possibility of military action. And that may have moderated his position, I don't know. But immediately he made that statement that he was not going to take Greenland by force. The market also immediately began to react on a positive trajectory. And CNN, for example, was showing the reaction of the market. So as I said, it was the kind of speech you should expect Trump to make. That's in direct reference to your question. Remember that everybody else who has spoken since yesterday or 2 days ago have been limited to between 10, 15, 20 minutes. The president spoke for an hour, 20 minutes. That tells you that Yodogo himself is in town.
Indeed, Ambassador Keshi, I'm afraid I've been told that we can't take this conversation beyond this point, but we would come back to this sometime. I don't know how soon we can drag the both of you in. I'm sorry, but we really have to go at this time. Thank you so much, Global Policy Analyst Alexander Van Broggen, who's in Canada, and Ambassador Joe Keshi, former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us for this conversation. The conversation around improving Nigeria's global image caused a convergence of concerned citizens in government, business, media, and civil society on Abuja for a historic reputation summit. The clarion call was made by the Nigeria Reputation Management Group in the bid to gather like minds committed to the efforts to counter negative narratives and present a clearer picture of Nigeria's economic potential, culture, and innovation. The consensus of the forum was that the solution lies in the citizens, and that is citizens at all levels, whether in government or in the led. But let's take a look at the kind of transformation that Nigeria has had, a decade of transformation that has reshaped Nigeria's global standing, revealing a striking contrast between cultural dominance and structural fragility. From 2016 to 2026, Nigeria emerged as a soft power giant. The Afrobeat explosion, Nollywood's global streaming deals, and a thriving tech scene have rebranded the nation as Africa's creative and digital heartbeat. However, the economic paradox remains. While 2026 shows a recovery with $45 billion in reserves, high inflation and security alerts over banditry continue to shadow investment. Yet, Nigeria's reputation is anchored by its people, with world-class intellectuals leading the WTO and the UN, and a resilient democracy. The giant of Africa remains a pivotal, albeit complex, global player. The narrative is clear. Nigeria's human capital is its greatest export, even as policy catches up. And I'm being joined by two gentlemen, one in the studio, a lawyer, and Charles Onwuche, who's a lawyer who's born and bred in the US, but seeking to come back home. Thank you for joining us, Charles.
Pleasure to be here.
And then we're being joined also within the offices by Kimiebi Bienfa, spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you for joining us, Kimiebi. I'm sure you heard me there, but we'll come back to you in a bit, Kimiebi. Let me start with you, Charles. Sure. I mean, you were at that Nigeria Reputation Summit.
Absolutely.
And tell me what struck you the most.
I think the two things that stood out to me, beside the guest speakers that we had, and the big takeaway is Nigeria's reputation starts with us. And for many folks who live in diaspora, such like myself, Nigeria's reputation, and it's the best currency we have, and it continues to improve year after year.
Even though some will say holding that green booklet is a problem in itself, because the moment they hear you're Nigerian, oh, You've not had that kind of encounter?
You know, I think I don't have that encounter no more. I think the great thing about it is just like every country has their strengths, every country has their weaknesses and areas they're trying to improve. And I think it was very clear from Nigerian summit yesterday that Nigeria's currency continues to grow. And then people not only here domestically but abroad are really excited about that. And just like myself, want to be a part of that change.
And you want to come back?
100%.
I mean, if you go on social media, I think I hope we're having Kimebi ready now. So we'll come to you, Kimebi, in a bit. If you go on social media, you find a lot of folks, not Nigerian, who insist or claiming to be Nigerian. I mean, how does that make you feel?
You know, it gives us actually raises an opportunity for us to kind of fix and change the narrative. Actually, I think the one thing that I think a lot of us can do better on is using social media to tell the positive story, tell all the great stories of people in diaspora who've enjoyed living in the diaspora, but hold on to their culture, just like myself. So I had the opportunity of doing that. And I think if we can use social media to tell those stories, the narrative will continue to change.
Let's bring in Kimebi. Kimebi, the importance of let's look at right now. Nigeria's just appointed ambassadors. Maybe they've not been deployed yet, but how important is that, first of all? And what kind of orientation do you think they'll be getting towards ensuring this reputation that Nigeria is trying to build is enhanced in their various postings?
Thank you very much for having me. Appointment of ambassadors is very, very important in diplomatic practice. As you're aware, the ambassadors are the principal representatives of the sending state that will be conducting the affairs of diplomacy in the receiving state. As principal representatives of the sending state, they will basically be performing three functions, representing their home government in their host countries, then ascertaining the living conditions and the developmental efforts in their host country, that is their receiving state, and reporting back to their home government, and also protecting the interests of their nationals in the country that they have been assigned to. So these functions are very crucial in diplomatic practice. So Nigeria have missed the absence of ambassadors for, I think, close to 2 years now, because since the recall of the early ambassadors in 2023, I think we've not been lucky to have ambassadors in our 109 missions. Currently, I think we have only one, and that is the principal representative of Nigeria to the ECOWAS Commission, which is stationed here in Abuja. Now, Mr. President has sent a list of ambassadors designated to the National Assembly. They've been screened, and the ministry is currently undergoing the process of requesting for agreements. If we receive sizable number of the agreements, we will have an induction conducted for the ambassador designates. Now, the basic focus for the induction will be how best they are going to express, how best they are going to sell Nigeria to the outside world. The reputation that we have currently, we are not very proud of it. So the ambassadors as principal envoys will play a very crucial role in advertising Nigeria, in projecting Nigeria, in projecting the image of Nigeria in the world.
Okay, so Charles, you've heard what Kimebi has said, what the ambassadors are going to be doing, and indeed that's what they've been doing. But for one who's in the diaspora, what else do you think needs to be done, especially to encourage young Nigerians and even the elderly to begin to look back home? As some will say, no matter how many years you spent out there, you're still a second-class citizen. Home is home.
Yeah, I think your last point is true. Home is always home. And I think we need to take the ownership on ourselves first. And we have to recognize, and it's kind of echoed yesterday in a summit, this reputation is not just government. It's every father, every mother, every brother and sister. It's every community taking on this burden. But recognizing we don't have a benchmark of saying this needs to get done in 12 months. The great thing about this process is every day, just like the summit kind of mentioned yesterday, we recognize where we are. We recognize there's so many opportunities there. As long as we steadfast and create a plan and hold ourselves accountable to that with metrics and driven by the data, we will see development change. And over time, we'll see the better Nigeria that we all dream for in our generation, not 300 or 400 years from now.
Maybe beyond the ministry and their efforts to how do you say, to put out good representation for the country, what kind of conversations do you think would be going on when they get into their spaces? I mean, at the summit yesterday, the former minister mentioned how when he was a minister, an ambassador wrote to him that he should come and visit where the ambassador was so that he can sell Nigeria. And the minister was like, I can't do that. Anybody that wants to do business with us can come to Nigeria. I don't need to come there to sell Nigeria. You're there. Can they come? Let them come to Nigeria and visit me in my office and see what I have and see what we have in the country and see the opportunities here. Is that what they're going to be working on to do?
Exactly. You can advertise the potentials of Nigeria from different perspectives, and ambassadors have a key role to play in that regard. Now, most times we try our best as diplomats to organize what we call business-to-business matchmaking, whereby you identify opportunity. Already as a Nigerian, you know what are the investment opportunities in the country, what are the prevailing laws that govern doing business in the country. You have all those information. So you identify countries that would be of interest to similar companies that would be of interest to similar business interests in Nigeria. So for example, in the manufacturing sector, you can see up on the potential that we have. Maybe if it's agro-based, what raw material that we have that we can link with already established countries in Europe that will be looking for source materials for their business interests. So you create a platform whereby different persons come together, assess each other's potentials, and also agree on how best they can pull resources together to make progress. So in terms of economic development, that is what the ambassadors will be doing. Also in the area of tourism too, we know what we have, we know what we can offer. And with our teaming population, like now that we are doing a lot in the provision of services, what can we do to link our teaming youth that have the capacity to companies that will tap on their resources? Even if they are not leaving the country, they can work from home and make a living and contribute to the betterment of our economy. Those are the lines that the ambassadors will be focused on.
All right. Thank you so much. Kimiebi Ebienfa is a spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Charles Chukwuebuka Onwuche is a legal practitioner who leaves, as he says, right now he spent 6 months in Nigeria, 6 months over there, but he wants to increase the time spent in country and eventually maybe come back finally.
Absolutely.
It was nice again to you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Charles. Absolutely. Thank you. Wish you well. Just before we move beyond the shores of Nigeria, the massive abduction of worshippers in 3 churches in Kaduna comes in the wake of allegations of Christian genocide leveled against Nigeria by the United States government, but countered by the Nigerian government. However, incidents such as the Kaduna kidnapping provide the wood to stoke these allegations of religious persecution. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu visited Kermin Wali and spoke to some of the residents.
On the 18th of January 2026, we were in the church around 9 o'clock. In fact, within a short time, we saw people with black dressing with a heavy weapon.
What kind of weapon? Personal weapon?
AK-47, something like that. They are okay. They are around the church. They enter the church, scatter the church.
Which church?
Seraphim Church number 2, Kurumi Wali. Yes, sir.
That's why you attend?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They collect our set, everything, our money. After that, they gather us, come to this church and gather us. From there.
What is the church? What is the church?
Kurumi, C&S Kurumi Wali 2. Yes, sir.
2, no?
Yes, sir.
And what's the chairman of local government, Dr. Madaki, saying about it?
No, Chairman Madaki, as he come here by himself, as the result we heard this morning, he say it's false report.
False report?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We say a lie. Yes, sir.
Yeah?
We Kariani muke.
We Kariani.
Come on, Dada Madaki. Dada Madaki.
Wait, Farah.
Dauda Madaki, in har shi ne ya ce,
Why Dauda Madaki?
Chairman na local government,
With the local government.
Kaduna local government.
Ga shi me kake fada?
In ya ce shi karya ne ba dauka mutane a kurmin wale ba, to hakimu yana kan shi kuma zai gani.
Dauda Madaki.
On to judicial matters, the Federal High Court, Abuja, on Wednesday ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to recognize a former Minister of Finance, Nenadi Usman, as a valid leader of the Labour Party. In a judgment delivered by Justice Peter Lifu, the court relied on the April 4, 2025 verdict of the Supreme Court to uphold Usman's leadership and consequently removed Julius Abure as the national chairman of the party. The court ordered INEC to forthwith recognize the Nadi Usman-led caretaker committee as the only valid authority to represent the Labour Party pending the conduct of a national convention. The long-running murder trial of former Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa has resumed at the Pretoria High Court, with defense witness Sifiso Zungu continuing his testimony. The 5 men accused of killing the football star in 2014 are back in the dock as the trial enters its 4th year. Meyiwa was shot dead at the Volslowers' home of his girlfriend, singer Kelly Kumalo, during what was initially reported as a robbery. Prosecutors maintain that the killing was a planned attack, a claim that continues to be contested in court. And now I have Elton Hart, attorney, University of Johannesburg Law Clinic, joins us from Gauteng. Thank you for joining us, Elton.
Good evening, and good evening to the viewers up in the West.
So this case has been on for the last 4 years, but what are your thoughts? I mean, it's been 12 years since Senzo passed away.
For me, looking at what's happening, it's a travesty of justice, because the case is taking so long. And also, if you see how the case is being handled currently in court, the different role players and how they interact with each other, you can see that there is a sort of a favoritism towards how the state is allowed to do certain things and how the defense is being treated in court.
But what are the legal implications of Sifiso claiming he asked the lead investigator to take accused one statement and transfer it to him?
Obviously, one needs to look at it in the bigger scheme of things and see how I perceived it when Sifiso Zungu, who's also known as Kwabini, was testifying. Is like he just said to them, listen, you take whatever Muzi Sibia said about me and transfer it, and I will sign it, because he wanted them to stop him being tortured and beaten by the police. Hence, he said that they can just get something out of him and leave him. And now the state is trying to show that, listen, yeah, but you are actually lying. But when the state's witnesses testified about certain instances that they were not called back, now suddenly when Kwabini is on the stand saying things that's contrary to the state's case, now they want to bring the state's witnesses. So I think the judge, in how he's managing the case, I'm not really happy, and seeing that fairness is being given to both sides of defense.
Yeah, but when we look at this particular case, Zungu had signed a statement earlier, which he now denies, right?
Yes. Now,
so, but what does that say of the whole situation? If he had made a statement and he's now denying that statement because of the signature that he signed before?
So in South Africa, in the law, if a statement is extracted from a witness with undue influence, we cannot really accept it as admissible. And I think in the Nigerian setup, it would be the same, based on our constitutions. Now, what was happening when Kwabini said they took him to a municipal area and somewhere close to a garage, he said that he was constantly being tortured and beaten to actually volunteer certain information, which he did not. And they pulled a plastic bag, which what they call as like they water bomb you, and also putting plastic bags over your head. So even if he gave a statement, but he gave a statement under those circumstances, you cannot say it was freely and voluntarily given. It was extracted out of him and then it should not be allowed to be admissible and actually lead evidence on that.
All right. Well, I guess we might just have to leave it here for now. But just before I let you go, is there hope for a quick resolution of this matter in like 30 seconds?
I don't foresee a quick resolution. I think that this will drag on and this case will go on appeal. So we will not, we will still have some years to come with this case.
All right. Thank you so much. Elton Hart is an attorney, University of Johannesburg Law Clinic. He joined us from Gauteng. Thank you again.
Thank you. And thank you to the...
And that's it on the 6th edition for today. Let's look at a recap of our major stories. We told you earlier that President Trump addressed global leaders in Davos and called for immediate negotiations to acquire Greenland. Also, that the police has confirmed the mass abduction of over 100 worshippers in Kaduna State. We also told you that the Federal High Court has recognized Nadi Usman as a Labour Party leader, removing Julius Abure as national chairman. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report or comments to the WhatsApp numbers showing on your screen. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Able TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow at nail time.